Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning we're going to talk about why different forms of savings are important. So let's jump right into it. Now, saving comes in many different forms, and going through the process of doing so builds in discipline in order for you to save for a gift or a contribution otherwise. So figuring out what you are saving for and how much will be applied to where will be important in both being able to save for those aspects that matter most to you, as well as give to those causes, those organizations, or those people that you want to have the greatest impact on. So initially, you should focus on building up an emergency or rainy day fund. Now, you've heard me mention this before, the importance of having a buffer between you and life and putting that financial space between you and life in the event of a health issue, a layoff, or the need to replace an appliance or having some other financial event occur. Now, this emergency fund prevents you from having to use a credit card or dipping into your retirement savings to cover an unexpected expense. Now, you may be thinking, well, isn't that exactly what my credit card is for? Now, although we have been told this, you should have reserves in place that prevents you from going into debt. The financial event or emergency causes enough stress without adding that stress by having to put it onto credit and not having the resources to cover that expense. Now, you may be asking, how much should I set aside? Now, I typically recommend that you start with $500 in savings. And if you already have that, move that to a separate account. Now, from that, you will build up to $1,000 and on to 1 to 3 months, and beyond that to 4 to 6 months of your living expenses. Now, if you're wondering what this means, it means that you take your cost of living. So that would be your mortgage, your car payment. It may be your debts and your credit card payments otherwise. And you add all of those aspects together, all those components together, and you get a number. Now you take that number and you multiply it out based on however many months you want to have in reserves. So for example, if your monthly budget is $3,000, and that's your living expenses in order to maintain your life and lifestyle the way it is right now, you will want up to 6 months in that savings account. So 6 months is 6 times the $3,000, which is $18,000 that you would have in that account, or that you'd build up to in that account over a given period of time. Now, this, of course, will occur over a period of time. So I would just encourage you to continue to work to build that up over a period of time so that you are, in a place where you have a healthy emergency fund, and that this can be your initial savings goal. Now, evaluating on a monthly basis where your savings sit is really important so that you are actively working toward your savings goals. So whether you determine that to be 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and all depending on how volatile your employment status is, you'll want to work towards that goal initially. Now, I always recommend having the savings built for an emergency fund first before beginning to save and put savings away for college savings or for a new car or whatever else that you are saving for. Now, this will ensure that you are intentionally building margin into your financial picture and not going into debt whenever an emergency arises. So the difference between what comes in the form of income and what goes back out in the form of expenses is especially important in seeing whether you are progressing forward or you are regressing or going backwards in building wealth. Now, the surplus or savings in turn attributes to growing your net worth. So finding and utilizing a resource that tracks your net worth will help you see in real time whether your net worth is growing based on that savings rate, or whether you're regressing because you're either eating into your savings or you're living beyond your means and living with debt or putting that on debt. So once an emergency fund is established, you want to move to the next step. Now that is retirement savings. Now, so many people have different perspectives in regards to how much you should be saving, whether you should put that into the market, whether you should buy properties or whatever the case may be. But it is typically recommended that you put 15 to 20% away for retirement savings. Now, I would first focus on maxing out your employer match. That's free money if you have one. Then moving on to your Roth IRA savings, being that there is a limit to how much you can put in a Roth IRA per year. Now, from this point, you can return to maxing out your retirement savings through your employer that doesn't have a match, or you could put that into real estate, or you could find some other means of putting that money away, leading up to that savings amount of 15% or up to 20% or whatever you deem necessary based on the amount you want to have in retirement at the age of retirement. So beyond this, I would look at what other aspects you want to save toward, whether that be some new furniture, an investment of some kind, or a new vehicle. Now, this type of savings should be separate from your emergency fund and separate from your retirement. This meaning that it needs to be out of sight, out of mind, so that you're not tempted to use any portion of it to pay for household expenses. So once you have a budget in place and it's in a good rhythm where you are, working to basically review it on a monthly basis, and that you have maxed out your savings for your emergency fund, retirement, and pleasure, you will then want to check your percentages for where you are placing your savings and making sure that as you move along and when you max out your emergency fund, when you max out your retirement savings, that you are recalibrating accordingly and making sure that those other savings goals that you have, those funds are reattributed to, and they don't get reapplied to lifestyle or to some other purpose that's not intended. Now, my call to action today is to look at your savings. Do you actually have an emergency fund? And if so, how much do you have in that emergency fund? Have you been maxing out your retirement savings? And do you have a fund for savings outside of these two avenues? If not, take this opportunity to make the adjustment in your savings to auto transfer the amount that you determine in your budget to this specific purpose. If this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're reminded to come back on a daily basis and improve in managing your personal finances. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.